Against that backdrop, let's bring in live now the Ukrainian ambassador to Australia, Vasyl Myroshnychenko. Thanks so much for your time. How important would the retaking of Kherson be?
Thank you very much. The Kherson is extremely important for Ukraine for logistical reasons. The River Dnipro goes into the Black Sea in Kherson region, and this is where a lot of the grain which is harvested in Ukraine is transported by river to the Black Sea ports. Therefore, it's crucial for Ukraine to regain this territory in order to provide a smooth supply of agricultural commodities to the global markets. Secondly, Kherson region is a place which attracted many foreign direct investments into Ukraine's renewable energy, mostly wind and solar. And all these assets are now under the Russian occupation. I know that Russians have looted those solar plants as well as some of the windmills, or destroyed them on purpose, making it deliberate that they want to destroy it. And therefore, Kherson is so crucial, it's so important for us.
Ambassador, strategically, of course, the retaking of Kherson wouldn't end the war, but if that was like such a massive loss for Russia, could it cause them to retreat elsewhere?
Well, they can retreat through Crimea, which we will eventually have to take over as well, because Crimea is Ukraine. But the thing is that the battlefield and the battle line is over 2,000 kilometers long. So the battlefield is pretty long, the front line. So actually, it's a distance from Kyiv to The Hague. That's the distance of the battle line that we are seeing in Ukraine, which stretches way up from northern east in Kharkiv region up to Kherson. So if you actually make a circle, you'll see there's this over 2,000 kilometer long front line that we are having, and Russians have occupied 20% of Ukraine's territory, which they need to withdraw from, and we need to get the right weapons and ammunition to repel them from Ukraine.
Right, okay, so what do you need from the Australian government? I assume the Bushmasters have been really helpful in holding off Russian forces. What more can Australia do?
I was in Bendigo the other week, where I visited the facility of Thales, Australia, and I took a note of Bushmasters are great. They are saving many lives. The Australian government has committed 60 of those. Majority of those been delivered, around 40 already, I understand. More are coming. We would make good use of another 30 Bushmasters, but also Hawkeyes, which you now can see on the screen. Hawkeyes are new vehicles which been produced specifically for the Australian Defence Forces. They're now in a testing mode, and they are very nimble and mobile, and could be used for reconnaissance missions. And it would be great if the Australian government could consider providing those, about at least 30 of those, to Ukraine, that it could be tested in the battleground, in that environment. And I think that feedback we'll be able to provide to Australia would be very useful for the Australian Defence Forces. I understand they've got 1,100 of those now specifically produced for the Defence Forces.
It's such a difficult situation in parts of Ukraine at the moment. Some military aid isn't getting through to the front line. Why is that? And would this shipment be different from Thales, do you think?
I'm not sure what kind of information you have on the logistical supply of the weapons, because this is highly secret information. And my understanding is that it is actually making to Ukraine. The problem is, of course, the times of commitment and times of the delivery. So it's not about the logistical problem, but rather the ability of different governments which are committing to support Ukraine to deploy that assistance at the earliest convenience. And so a lot of that comes as a commitment, but it's not being delivered for different reasons. Therefore, we need to get the steady supply of weapons, ammunition, long-range missiles, and other equipment that we need to be able to go on the counteroffensive. Because everything which is counteroffensive in Ukraine is for defensive purposes. Because we need to free the land, we need to free the Ukrainians from the suffering of life under the Russian occupation. And for that, we need some proper ammunition and weapons to be able to fight the Russians.
Yes, no, I don't have any secret information from within the Ukrainian regime as to where weapons are and aren't going, but I imagine the logistical efforts in coordinating this international aid is increasingly difficult, or is it getting easier?
Look, I just want to correct you. Regime is in Russia. In Ukraine, we have a democratically elected government, and the situation will have to change and improve because most of Ukrainians believe we're going to win this war. We have to fight. We don't have any other option. And we need to free those people who are under the Russian occupation from the harrowing war crimes which Russians are committing in Ukraine.
Yeah.
So the faster we're going to get the right weapons, the faster we'll be able to free the Ukrainians under the Russian occupation.
There's a mural in Melbourne. It's now been painted over by the artist because there has been backlash. It was of a Ukrainian and Russian soldier embracing. Do you think that was the right thing for that mural to be painted over?
Of course, and I'm happy that the author has reacted to this. He reacted to the outcry of the Ukrainian community and the Ukrainians who found it very offensive. So it's good. It's been repainted. I hope we can do it today. It's just extremely offensive to Ukrainians, hurting their feelings, and is sending a wrong message. And therefore, I'm happy that he reacted, and I'm thankful to the Port Phillip counselors who reached out to me personally and who have been very helpful, as well as to the Ukrainian community in Victoria, who swiftly reacted to this mural.
The artist said it was his intention to encourage peace. Do you accept that as an explanation?
I don't accept it as explanation because it's known that the artist actually talked to some people in Ukraine's art scene or Ukrainian community art scene, and they told him that it's offensive and don't do it. However, he still decided to go ahead. And I think what he was pursuing publicity, which he gained as a result of this scandal. So I don't think this publicity is built on Ukraine's blood, though I understand his intention of peace, but it's the same as for instance, 1943 having a Jewish man hugging a Nazi soldier and make a mural out of it. I mean, how would that make the Jews feel about it?
Ambassador, we didn't get to talk last week, but just finally, Mikhail Gorbachev died. He was lauded by world leaders as a man who ended the Cold War, but he's been no friend to Ukraine, particularly in recent months. And he said that he would have done what the current Russian president has done. How should we be remembering Mikhail Gorbachev?
Well, you have to take in mind that Mikhail Gorbachev did not want to destroy the Soviet Union. It just happened inadvertently. So there is nothing of credit to him except for he was ruling the country at the times when it dissolved. And as you know, Vladimir Putin called him that it was the biggest tragedy of his life. Therefore, he is now trying to revive the Soviet Union or revive the empire. But as Gorbachev, just many of the Russians on different sides of the political life in Russia are imperialistic in their statements, in their views, and pretty chauvinistic. Therefore, I'm no surprise of the statements that Gorbachev made at the end of his life. So his legacy is actually undermined. The legacy that he could have carried to his grave could have been different. And you see the Soviet Union collapsed because it just couldn't sustain the economy of the Soviet Union. And it was not intentional. He didn't plan to crumble. The Soviet Union just crumbled. So his only credit was that he was ruling the country and he started democratic reforms. And maybe if he started economic reforms just like China did and then followed by political reforms, perhaps he could have preserved it. But I'm lucky he picked the way he did, which contributed to the Soviet Union's collapse and to 15 countries to emerge on the map, and many of those who've been fighting for their independence for a long time.
Ambassador, it's always good to talk to you. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, bye.